world as we have 5 lights on and it's lights out and away we go.
Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast, and we are back again. Of course, you all know SJ. He's been a part of this community since the start, of course, and I am kind of the newcomer here, the new host, you can say, the new understudy of the group. Welcome to the podcast where we talk about Formula One and everything related to Formula One. Yeah, so we are back with the podcast. Now we haven't decided कि हम लोग कितना regular होने वाले with the podcast. What are the dates? We will slowly release that, but फिलहाल के लिए we are very excited for the Bahrain GP. Pre-testing is over for the season, and it's been, oh my god, what these 3 days have been fucking amazing. मतलब इतना मज़ा मुझे कभी नहीं आया है रेसिंग में. Like not it wasn't even a race. It was just testing, or it's been so exciting to see teams come up with their new
Actually,
liveries, new designs.
actually, the last part of the session on day three, it was a
Oh
race.
yeah. The six cars. And bro, if you
Six,
take that
seven
clip,
cars.
if you take that clip out of context and show anyone, they will like, fuck Yuki Tsunoda, how is he leading Lewis Hamilton and Red Bull? It was so fun,
Exactly.
man. It was fun. It was great fun. I
It was
enjoyed it.
very fun. Yes.
So,
Yeah,
what were
absolutely.
your takes about the teams? Let's start with the top teams. What were your takes about Red Bull, Mercedes, and Ferrari? Like, what do you think we're gonna expect?
See, Red Bull usually are going seamless, with their design is perfect. Right now, their engine is perfect. Uh, Nobody's catching Max at any given point of time. Even if you see, there is a good difference between the two teammates as well at this point of time as well. Okay. So even the sister car is not going to catch him. ऐसा लगता है. Unless and until he
Okay.
fails, nobody's catching him. This is my takeaway of the Red Bull from testing. As soon as somebody posts a good time, Max is there or Sergio is there, and they beat it seamlessly with good amount of distance. Okay, and probably on a little bit harder tire. Of course, the main point is we don't know their fuel loads, what kind of setups they have. The only visible thing what we have is the tire, what they choose, whether it is a C3 or a C4 or like that. But we don't know what fuels, what programs they are running. But what we take away is they have good mileage in the bucket, they have the pace, they have a good driver lineup, they have a good technical team back at the thing. So I think testing test away says Red Bull are going to march forward, carry it forward from 2022.
So again, there's going to be no competition from Ferrari and Mercedes. That's your point of view.
No, there will be. See, uh, Mercedes, how they came back in 2022, okay,
Yeah.
given that design was a little flawed, but eventually they came back. Okay, they were crawling there. How George Russell took the victory in Brazil, how they were taking the poles and all this kind of how they were challenging them. These are the takeaways. You cannot write off Ferrari and Mercedes, like
Never.
that.
Never.
Ferrari start of the season last year were very strong. Eventually, they faded away due to reliability issues and the driver errors and all. Let's hope they have updated design, they have updated their engine. There is a new team principal which is coming in. Let's hope they have a fresh start. They can bring in more competition. Overall, I want to see a three-way fight, even better, a four-way fight, because that Aston Martin looks very good, honestly.
Yeah. So, what my takeaway was that, of course, these the testing days aren't the final product that the teams are going to produce on
Hmm.
the racing day. We all know that these are just times when they run programs, they run on different tires, different setups. As you could see, that Alpine, was it Alpine which was porpoising heavily when Ocon was driving, and
Yes,
they were like, we're trying very heavy setups right now, so this is not a final car. They were like, hey,
correct.
we don't have the porpoising problem very clearly. It's just हम लोग बस try कर रहे थे. Don't just take this as news, please don't. That's the thing. And by that logic, Red Bull Red Bull का जो जितना भी however much time they had on track, it was flawless. They had no engine issues. They had no weird issues. McLaren had some very weird car integrity issues. I didn't understand how you can do that with carbon fiber. It's just out of my.
Mm.
It's just not logical. Aston Martin had problems. Of course, Lance Stroll couldn't drive. His both ankles or wrists, something's broken. It's
Wrist,
just,
I think.
yeah, his both wrists are gone. So Drogovic took over, and yeah, they caused, I think, the first or the second red flag of the day one. So yeah, they had issues.
First.
McLaren had issues. Mercedes had issues. Mercedes also caused red flags. They had to stop their car. For me, Red Bull and Ferrari are the guys who will be running in front because they
Mhm.
already have a good design from 2022. 2023 designs aren't that different. Mercedes is still going on with the side podless thing, and I do not think, I'm a bit sketchy about it. Although they came back by the end of the season last year, लेकिन इस साल मुझे पता नहीं. I'm just very sketchy कि they'll be back on winning terms like they were in the past 8 years. About the midfield, by the way, midfield is going to be very interesting. हमने टेस्टिंग में वो देखा ही. Aston Martin is in the game with, of course, Fernando Alonso. Just that pairing, I just want to see what they can bring to the table. And Alpine, of course, the French team, they're gonna have a lot of fun with Ocon and Gasly. AlphaTauri, I don't want to judge AlphaTauri so soon because I do not know if they've graduated from the back markers to the midfield yet.
No,
I'm
but
still sketchy about
speaking
that.
of AlphaTauri, Harshit, the point is, let's not write off Nick De Vries.
Oh yeah,
His only shot came at Monza in Williams, and the guy was in the podium in the
he
points.
delivered.
First race he was there. Uh, so let's not write off AlphaTauri. I mean, I am not writing off AlphaTauri. They can definitely be big in the midfield team. Speaking of the midfield team, McLaren, I am assuming they are going to be disappointment this season, seeing the issues that they are having right now. And probably, I think what I heard on track is they might be changing their development philosophy as well. You know,
Okay.
what they had in winter, what they're going to now. So there might be a change in the philosophy. Plus, on day three and day two, most of the time the car was in the garage. And with a new driver, I don't know how much Norris would be able to pull McLaren on his shoulder alone. So I'm a little sketchy about McLaren.
So about McLaren, like I said, they already had reliability issues throughout the testing
Mm,
days. I do not know, the wheel covers weren't working. I don't exactly know what the problems were, but it was very weird to hear a team's car's integrity being questioned. That ये चीज कभी होती नहीं है. We've never seen a car's wheel covers break out of just pure speed. It's just weird. I don't know how engineers can get that wrong. But that was the problem. Now with McLaren, the thing is, ki, of course, they want to be up on the podiums again. They want to fight for the championship. That's their ultimate goal. They were there until 2011, 12, 13 maybe, and then they just dropped back in the grid. They want to come back. We know that, but how much time it's gonna take? That's still questionable. I don't think they're there yet. I agree with you, ki they're not there yet. However, Alpine, they're actually moving forward. Even when they were Renault, they were scoring podiums very consistently. I mean, by consistently, I mean for a midfield team, they were scoring podiums very consistently. With
correct.
Alpine, they've had consistent races, they've scored points consistently. Last year was really great, both Ocon and
Mm,
Alonso. Now we have
correct.
Gasly and Ocon. And well, I just hope these young, talented drivers, Gasly getting a turn again in a good competitive car, that's going to be
Correct.
probably something for them. I hope it's a four-way title race.
So it's definitely Gasly coming to Alpine is a good point. You have made that. Uh, Considering that he had only half a season shot at Red Bull, okay, and then he was again back at AlphaTauri, then to now AlphaTauri. Now he has again a shot at the big team, okay, where they can push the car. They don't have to rely on anybody else. They can just go ahead, smack it down. What's interesting though is Ocon. He did not have a good partnership with Sergio Perez when they were in Racing Point. I mean, they were accidents then. I'm not saying he's a
Yeah.
good partner or like that. He's a good driver, but he had accidents with Sergio Perez in Racing Point. He had it with Fernando Alonso last year as well. So that's a little bit, fun dreaming around in the Alpine, both French guys. I don't know. They have been racing together since the junior category, the go-kart days. So childhood friendship coming to the picture over here, like that. So it's
Oh, by the
going
way,
to be
they weren't,
very,
they kind of weren't friends, by the way. From what I've heard, they weren't friends. Like, this happening was a big shock for a lot of fans. Like, they were like, "Ki, how can you get together two people who just hate each other?" That was what I heard. I do not know how much of that is true, but if that's true, man, Ocon already had problems with his old teammates. This is going to be something very, very bizarre, and I can't wait to
this
see
is
this. Like we
very
always know,
spicy stuff.
Formula One. If you have seen Drive to Survive, maybe they say this like
Mm,
100 times in their 9 episodes. Formula One is very cutthroat, and
mm,
your teammate is your worst enemy. So it's going to be
correct.
really, really, really interesting to see both of them compete in the same car, which is where you will get to know who the better driver is. So they'll both have something to prove in that car, and yeah, let's see what happens. I am pretty excited for the midfield, by the way. Just the midfield.
Right.
I just hope. Okay, I'm big Steiner fan, Gunther Steiner. So I hope Haas wins one race. Just make it happen for once.
They had that pole last year, right, in Brazil.
Oh yeah,
Correct. Last year, first race, they finished at P5.
Magnussen.
Correct. See, they had the rules of the development have changed from 2021 to 2022.
Yep.
Correct. Considering this, the performance last year was awesome. Okay. Seeing from the testing point of view, I'm hoping that they have improved from what they had left, from where they left last year. Right. Eventually, they had some bad accidents during the race in 2022. Lot of budgets gone here and there. So they
Hmm.
did kind of lost their way in the way last year. But hopefully this year with Nico Hulkenberg and Kevin Magnussen, two another different poles again in the same team. We know the history between these two drivers as well. Another interesting topic.
Oh, but I
But
think yeah. Yeah, go on, go on.
but Haas is something to watch out for. Moreover, more than Haas, I would say keep your eye on Williams.
Oh yeah, Nick.
They
I'm sorry.
they need to come through this
Yeah,
season.
Alex Albon and what's the name of the second driver? I
Logan
forgot.
Sargent.
Yeah,
Logan
Sargent,
Sargent.
the American finally entering Formula One after a very long time,
Yes.
and
After 7 years.
so yeah, about Haas, I think the only problem Haas had last year, the car was okay. It wasn't like super competitive, and even in the midfield, but it was okay. When Magnussen was behind the wheels, it was great. When Schumacher was behind the wheels, it was. I mean, it had more problems than there needed to be. Look,
Mm,
I am not saying that he's not a good driver. He's of course a great driver. To be able to drive in Formula One with that name, we all know the history of Schumacher name, and to have that on you, to have that responsibility, it's really tough. But if you are not performing, then the door is right there, and that's what happened with him. But with Hülkenberg and Magnussen, it's going to be really different. Two seasoned drivers, they know the midfield very good. They have been in competitive cars, they've been in bad cars, both of them, so they know how to deal with pressure situations and situations in the midfield, how to avoid stuff, how to avoid controversies, how to avoid fighting within the team. They know that, and of course Gunther Steiner is going to do his best to not let the drivers fight. As we know,
correct.
his relationship with the drivers has always been a bit questionable, but it's always worked out in the end. So I'm pretty hopeful for Haas. About Williams, yes.
Hmm.
Since the last 5 years, Williams has gone nowhere but down. We're hoping for a resurgence, and with the budget limit introduced, we're hoping that that really helps the Williams teams. The teams, actually, all the backmarker teams. It's just good
Hmm.
to have that gap closed between competitive teams and the non-competitive teams. So Yeah, that's my take on the backmarkers too. Basically, the whole testing has been really great. Yeah, what do you want to say?
Correct. So what I wanted to add is don't forget Alfa Romeo season Valtteri Bottas and the young
Joe
Zhao over
Guan.
there, Yoganu. He is a good guy over there in the car. This will be his second season. You know, all those butterflies of the rookie season has gone now. Okay. He also posted a fastest time on day two
Yes.
on a C4 tire. So that was a pretty good time, to be very honest. Somewhat near the qualifying time of last year of Bahrain GP. Of course, on the third day, Sergio Perez broke that, but which shows that Alpha can also be quick. Yeah, Alpha meaning Alpha Romeo, I mean. So there, this is probably what they are rolled over here in a couple of seasons. Then Audi takes back the car, so they have kind of finish it off. That particular thing will be there. We need to finish on the high.
Yeah, so Alfa Romeo was quick last year too. The only problem Alfa
Hmm,
had was with their reliability.
correct,
Valtteri Bottas had to retire so many times from the points. It was just ridiculous. Like I just thought that that team had so much potential. Even during the testing last year, if you know, Alfa Romeo had a lot of problems with their gearbox. This year too, they had a couple of problems, but it wasn't that bad. Alfa couldn't run for a whole
correct.
day last year, and that maybe impacted how they performed in the races after that. I don't know
Hmm,
a lot about that, but the problem has always with Alfa Romeo, two great drivers. You have one who was a teammate to a champion, always supported
hmm,
the teammate. He had to. It was just ridiculous how many times he had to make way for Lewis Hamilton, and Zhou Guanyu, who's probably one of the most skilled drivers. I would argue on the grid. He is probably one of the most skilled drivers on the grid, and to have him in your car is like if your car is bad, he can extract a good performance out of it. He's good.
correct.
So I'm
About
just thinking, yeah,
about the skill drivers that you mentioned is a very good point. I recollect this season being, a vast majority of the skills that are there. We have uh, champions, we have potential champions, we have very good rookies. This
we have
season
what
coming
three
up, we have
rookies:
F2 champions, F3 champions. No, two. Logan Sargent and
Nick DeVries, Oscar
Oscar
Piastri,
Piastri.
and Nick
Nick
DeVries.
DeVries does not
Three.
qualify for being a rookie
Well,
because
we are
last year he
counting him
had a
as a
race.
rookie. We are counting him as a rookie. Just one race, he
Officially,
delivered well. So yeah,
officially, he's not supposed to be a rookie. That's what the record books show. Okay. But good, young, talented batch of upcoming drivers, potential champions which are there, like Sainz, Ocon or
Leclerc.
Gasly maybe, of course. And we have champions like Max, Lewis. All these people are fighting it out. Some are defending, some are attacking. Somebody want to prove their metal.
Do not forget
Very
Fernando
interesting bunch
Alonso.
of drivers. He's always there.
He's just
That
gonna be
guy,
there.
yeah, he is going to be there. He is there and he is
We are
going to
gonna
be
retire.
there.
He's not.
Well, hope so. He's a good entertainer though, and a
Yep.
fighter. Let's not forget how he defended so brilliantly in 2021 in Hungary GP against Lewis Hamilton
He
in a
made
much
Ocon
more
win the
superior
race.
car. Yes,
Yeah.
and Ocon won the race.
Yep.
So that guy has superior talents. These people are different league altogether. But
Yeah.
see the vastness of this particular pool that we have this season. Very interesting.
Yeah. So about the drivers, man, I am really excited. First of all, of course, Alpine. That pairing is going to be uh, controversial, interesting to watch. It's going to be really great. I am very excited about Alpha Tauri's lineup. Yuki Tsunoda and fuck. How can I? Oh man, I keep forgetting his
Nick
name.
De Vries.
Yeah, Nick DeVries. So these two guys, of course, Nick DeVries, Formula E champion. He is quick. We know that Williams. He drove that Williams absolutely to the end of its gearbox. And
Correct.
Yuki Tsunoda has been. He's a hothead. We all know. He makes mistakes sometimes, but he's very talented. He's supremely talented. So let's see what happens with
Mm-hmm.
them. Another thing I'm very excited about is the pairing of Lewis Hamilton and George Russell, because we know Lewis is at the tail end of his career. Mercedes are scrambling to find his replacement, and to replace Lewis Hamilton is a very big thing. Probably the biggest seat in the whole motorsport industry is that the replacement for Lewis Hamilton. Now,
Right.
George Russell takes over as a senior member of the team when Lewis Hamilton leaves. Is he better than Lewis Hamilton this year or not? That would be very important to his role in the team for the future. Because if he's,
More than more than I'm sorry to interrupt you at this point of
yeah,
time. So my point being, it is not about who comes on top. My point being, Mercedes will evaluate who is extracting that little bit more to go that extra mile from the car. Lewis has always done that. Okay. George, we know when he was driving at Williams, we called him Mr. Saturday. Why? Because he used to push that Williams from Q3 to Q2, Q2 to Q1. Top of the second row was the first row was the highest he got in Belgium and whatnot. So he can extract a little bit more from the car. That's where the fight will be. And of course, a world champion, a proven champion versus an upcoming talent, maybe a world champion of the future, sparks are going to be there from the cars and between the drivers as well, for sure.
yeah. So Lewis Hamilton is it's a weird case to consider, because as we know, I'm not taking anything away from him. He's a very talented driver. He is a seven-time world champion, but he's always been in the best car when he has been the champion. Now he's been beaten by his teammate Nico once. After that, we know Mercedes said, "Ki no, we're not gonna have a fight. We're gonna completely establish that Lewis Hamilton is the number one driver." Right? Before George Russell came
Correct.
in. And when George Russell came
Mm,
in, we saw both of them struggle with the car. Although I think George Russell fit in much better, because, like he also said in, I think, one of the Formula One's podcasts, that he even though Mercedes car was bad, he still had an upgrade from the Williams. So he was able to adapt
mm,
better. Whereas Lewis Hamilton, that he had a massive downgrade from what he was used to, the W11, the
correct.
W12, and this one
Mm,
was, as Toto said, it was a shit box. So yeah, it was nice to see that pure, the competitiveness between the drivers. And credit to Mercedes, by the way. I know it wasn't, they knew that they weren't going to win the championship, but they let their drivers fight it out every time. I think there were minimal team orders for Mercedes in the front row. Ferrari had a lot of team orders. Red Bull, of course, we know what goes between Checo and Verstappen. So yeah, I know there are a lot of Mercedes haters, and I get that. Seeing a person win so many times, it develops that bad hatred inside you. Although I'm a very big Mercedes fan, I just like to see a person achieve so much, a team achieve so much that nobody even comes close to them. That was like the peak of their achievement, what I think. But yeah, I know, but credit to them that they let their drivers fight it out, and not, and trust their
mm.
drivers, and not just ruin the races with team orders, because that, I think, that just takes all the fun out of the race. So yeah.
Correct. Eventually, they did not have anything to lose last year. As you said, they were already made peace with the fact that they were not going to win any world championship this year, given the how their development philosophy of no side pod went wrong and all those kind of things. Eventually, they made good comeback, but they knew that they were not going to win anything. So why not let a racing happen on the track other than giving team orders or anything like that? Perfectly fine. Let the young blood go through it. Let the old fox play his tricks. May the best one man win. Simple as that.
And I guess that what actually, you know what, that I think they made their own life tougher because now the
Mm,
decision is really tough to make between who's better. Is Was Lewis better with the bad car, or was George Russell better with a better car than he's used to? But in the end, Mercedes wins. They get
mhm.
better extraction out of the car. They get more performance out of the car. That's what
Correct.
we want as it, even racing fans, as racing drivers, as the teams, as the
Hmm.
mechanics. That's what we want, and that's what we got. And I was very happy for it.
Absolutely.
Even though I was really disappointed that they weren't in the front row for the fight of the championship.
Mm.
That's okay. Not every year is going to be my year. I mean, there have been Williams fans since the 90s and they haven't won shit, nothing. So they're still fans. They're
Since
still fans, man.
97.
Yeah, that hurts.
Of
That
course, of
hurts.
course. Yes, of course. So Williams last won the World Championship in 97 with
Yeah.
Jack Villeneuve, right? After that, either it has been Ferrari or a
Wait,
McLaren, a Red
was
Bull,
it
and a
Gilles
Mercedes.
Villeneuve or Jacques Villeneuve? Who's the son? Jacques
No, Jack
Villeneuve's the son.
Villeneuve.
Yeah.
Jack Villeneuve is the son.
Yeah.
So long history. Still, the team is there. They are still fighting it out. They have a good fan support. It's all very good things. But eventually, everything plays out. I hope this is the year of their fortune. At least they would somewhere around about sixth or seventh or maybe fifth in the championship. It would be so motivating for all the fans out there. After 2014 and after 2015, this will be another good season for them after long years.
Yeah.
So let's hope for the best for the Williams at least. And then, what attracts me more is how Ferrari going to pan out.
Yeah. That's a big
Last
question
year
mark.
they last year they screwed up royally between their reliability and uh, their strategies.
Strategies. Yeah.
Very bad. Hopefully, with Fred coming on to the ship, new team principal, they'll have a lot of things in order, and hopefully it will go much more better this year, and they would be eventually be the actual contenders of winning both the championship at a certain point of time. We would like to see a good fight. Who does not?
Yeah, and I would like to add to it. Look, man, I get that Binotto didn't work out as they wanted to. But firing him and pressuring him out of the team was something that I didn't personally didn't want to see. He was the technical director in the team for a very long time, and we know those
Hmm.
engines killed everybody else. They rammed on the competition, right?
Correct.
And I just wanted him to go back to his niche. That was his chick. That was what he was supposed to do. He was supposed to develop a car that's amazing. He wasn't supposed to be the principal in the first place. And that, I think, that just added extra work to his portfolio, which I think, yeah, he wasn't built, he wasn't cut out for that. So I
Sometimes the
just,
technical guy is not as good as a people's manager.
yeah, of course. I mean, look, being the best in the technicality is one thing. Otherwise, why would Adrian Newey not take over the Red Bull? Why would he not hit the Red Bull? Right? He knows that he's good at one thing. Yes, he is like probably one of the best.
The God,
I don't know what to say. He is just
the
great.
God.
Yep.
He's the
We
he's
don't
he's one
say
of the
we don't
best.
say we don't say nothing bad about Adrian Newey. Never.
No, 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 no. He's that guy. That guy developed the ground effects car in the 70s and 80s, but nobody thought about it. Eventually, right now we are
Exactly.
into his era. So,
So I think, yeah. So Binotto knew what he was good at. Ferrari just
correct.
expected more out of him than he was supposed to do. And that's why that
Hmm.
didn't work out. And I completely agree. If you want to not have him as the team principal, but firing him completely out of the team, that was just something that really disappointed me because he could have been the one who made the difference. And yeah, that's just something I'm sad about. That's all.
Think from this perspective that somebody who has been a team principal, would you would would he be okay with a lesser role in the team? You
Oh,
know,
I would bet
maybe
on.
Oh,
Yeah,
you would, of course.
yeah,
Everybody have their own perspective. Maybe, maybe he would not fit in or gel in, at a lesser role in the team. Maybe Ferrari expected much more better out of him in the factory or somewhere else in some other department, maybe out of the racing. That has happened so many times. Luca Montezemolo, Mauricio Arrivabene, lot of people have come in, gone. Luca have been there for so many years, but after 2014, he was asked to move away. Simple as that. So it's not there. It's something which is okay. I would not lose my sleep over that point. Why was Mattia was asked to leave? That's okay. That's gone. Let's focus on the future now.
I think I was just way too much emotionally invested in him because I just love the guy. And I just when he was like, "Oh man, I didn't want him to leave." Anyways, well, we have Fred
Yeah,
now,
of
and we
course.
know Fred from Alfa Romeo. He doesn't hold back words or
Oh,
his actions. If we know, last year in one of the press conferences, he said, "Yeah, red flags happen sometimes. Sometimes they're reliability issues. Sometimes it's Latifi." And it was like, "Fuck!" He just said it. So that was funny. I love the guy. He speaks whatever's on his mind and he doesn't hold
correct.
back. He is cutthroat, like you should be as our
Hmm.
team principal. And yeah, let's see where Ferrari ends up this year.
Speaking of the team principals you're talking about, Mr. James has moved up from Mercedes to Williams as a
Yep,
team principal.
that's going to
Very
be new.
interesting.
That's going to be new. A guy who comes out of probably one of the best teams that have had the best years, and now has
Correct.
given the team, which is of course, and like they work with Mercedes, but it's a perfectly like clearly a different team. They have lower budget. They have constraints
Hmm.
that Mercedes didn't have. Mercedes were like, "Ye lo paise, banao gadi," and Williams is not like that. We all know that.
Of course, of
Yeah,
course.
so
I
that's going to be
completely
really
agree. But
yeah.
hmm,
But he's
completely
talented. We
agree
know
with your
that.
point. Yeah, of course, he is. Of course. No second thoughts about that.
Yeah.
And we might also hear this voice, Alex it's James or Logan it's James.
Yes.
I hope not. I would not like to hear that voice.
Nobody likes that, man. Well,
I'm sure
those
Bottas
were
will have
yeah.
second thoughts.
James' battery. Oh, so over all in all, pretty excited for the first race, which is Bahrain. And w- uh, from the things that we've seen during the testing, it's going to be pretty close for some teams, and it's going to be pretty competitive when we see for the first time actually how fast the cars are. So yeah,
Correct.
I'm waiting for it, and yeah, hopefully, uh, nobody is out of the contention of whatever they're expecting out of their own teams.
Couple of points, going into the first race. There is only a week time. Okay, only a week when the first red light goes away, and we go racing. So, point to consider is the lessons learned from the testing for the teams. How are
Hmm.
they going to implement it, and when and how we are going to see the development in the future of the cars. Second point to consider over here is that Lance Stroll is injured. Who will
Yeah,
replace him? Right? My bet is Felipe Drogovic should jump in. He has tested the car. He knows
yeah,
how
he
it
already
is.
knows. Yeah.
Anybody else, it should be him. However, Stoffel Van Dorn is also there in the race as a reserve driver. So we
Hmm.
never know. But my personal choice would be Felipe Drogovic to drive in case Lance does not make it. So I'm keeping an eye open for Aston Martin this season. Let's hope for the best because they kind of have one of the best cars right now in midfield who are only looking upwards, not downwards.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
so let's hope for the best, and we'll see. We are in Bahrain again this coming week, and the next weekend immediately we have another GP of Saudi Arabia before we move on to Australia. So
same
back to back
lineups
races.
like the last year, right? It's the same lineup. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
correct. Yes. So it's back to back race weekends. So kind of a workload very heavy on the drivers, on the teams. So I hope pans out very nicely at the start of the year.
Also, we forget how expensive Formula One is, and having good investors for the team is really important, which Aston Martin has sorted it out really good. They have Lawrence
Hmm.
Stroll, who's like, I want the best car for my son and the other driver, period. Nothing else will suffice. And that's something, that's the kind of mentality that will make you climb the ranks even if you're starting from point zero, right? And that's what we've seen
Hmm.
with Aston Martin. They have climbed up every year, and since it was Racing Point, the pink Mercedes, they. I mean, I
Hmm.
don't want to say ki it was morally correct. It wasn't, of course. They just copied a car, but they produced results. They won a race,
Of
and
course. Right.
that was the turning point of Checo's career too. So many things attached to Aston Martin. High hopes from fans, from people in F1 itself, from Lawrence Stroll, the
Hmm.
investor. So yeah, Aston Martin is going to be something of a force from this year onwards. So I'll look out for them. Also, Fernando Alonso, he can take a shit box, turn it into a Renault 2005.
Oh,
Yeah. So I'm just hopeful something happens, something miracle.
hopefully, yeah. More than Aston Martin, outside the top three teams, leaving Red Bull, Ferrari, and Mercedes, Aston Martin is a good team coming up. But what I really want to say is how McLaren and Williams, world champion teams, pans out. You know, they are not short of resources. Okay, they have good driver lineup, both young, both energetic, a good team. Uh, I really hope that they uh, make the ship very soon. Taking podiums, taking wins. It's very good for the sport, and I hope they come to it soon.
Yeah, and the first 3 or 4 races, it always comes down to reliability. Whose engine is
Mm,
more reliable, and we'll see that in the course of the next 3 or 4 weeks. We will know whose
correct,
engines are better, whose cars are more reliable, who are clocking in the better time and mileage, and that will probably decide, just like last year, that will probably decide the championship and the standings in the constructor championship. So yeah, that's what I am
of
going to
course.
be looking out for. Just before wrapping up, I just want to ask you a couple of questions. Who is going to be your fan favorite driver, and who do you think will come out on the top of the table in the first quarter of the championship?
So I'm a tifosi by heart. I will not deny on that particular part. Okay, so I want the Ferrari to be on top for the first quarter of the race, first 4 5 races, winning Charles and Sainz, blasting throughout. But let's be honest, you cannot name a 3 or 4 guys starting of this particular season because there is George, there is Lewis, there is Charles, there is Carlos, there is Max. This 5 6 people will be driving crazy out of each other. Okay,
Yeah.
unless and until we go to Australia and the next 3 4 races, okay, it will be very hard to pick who's dominating, who's doing good. Remember in 2013, the first 7 races had 7 different winners.
Yeah, and that came down to what, the last race between the top
No,
five
not the
people.
last. Yeah, no, no, no. It was not. It was that was in 2010, but
Oh yeah.
2013 I'm talking about. So first 7 races were won by 7 different drivers of 7 different teams. Not 7 different teams, but 7 different drivers. Yes, and eventually, what happened is Sebastian Vettel won very comfortably, very easily. So we never know how it
Exactly.
starts, but what matters is how it ends, and it should be happy tears for everybody.
And this whole year is going to be hopefully very exciting for all the F1 fans, and all the Mercedes fans, Ferrari fans, Red Bull fans. It's going to be a very close fight. I hope, I have crossed my fingers for it, because मैं Mercedes fan, बिल्कुल ऐसा बेशर्मी से Mercedes fan. So if anyone wins against Lewis Hamilton, I'm smashing the TV, right? I'm that bad. So yeah, I just want Hamilton or even Russell to win. He's good talent. Actually, there's so much new talent on the grid. It's just ridiculous that It's
Mm.
most of the guys are going to be retired. The old guys are going to be retired in the next 5 years, and these guys are going to take over. It's just, man, it's so fulfilling to see new drivers. Yeah, that's all I wanted to
Correct.
say. Yeah, are we good? Are we okay with everything?
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool. So guys, I'll leave the links in the description. Go follow SJ. Go follow me on Instagram, and I'll leave all the links to the social media. We have WhatsApp groups. Our community, IFF1, Indian fans of Formula One. Do join those. Of course, there's going to be limited entries, so do it as soon as possible. And yeah, we'll hopefully try to be consistent. New information, more information about the podcast we'll release, and we'll be calling more people with us to just for one-offs guests so that they can also feel involved, mostly fans and community members. So yeah, join us as soon as possible, and we'll see you guys next time.
Cheers. Have a good season.